Mr. Stanek, I don't expect you to comment on pending litigation, but I understand that the state of Pennsylvania is blocking a transmission line that would go from Maryland to through Pennsylvania, despite being approved by everybody else. So let's not, and I only use that to set up that it's real life, but I'm going to ask you about the theoretical. The federal state management boards of which you speak and praise and say we need more of, what additional teeth do they need in order to avoid a theoretical situation where where Pennsylvania may approve a project and want to ship it into Maryland and Maryland says no?
Well, the board that I spoke of does not have any legal authority right now. It's a collaboration between the federal and state authorities. But the example that you speak to is a very important trans-source transmission line where the Maryland Public Service Commission found a genuine bona fide need to bring power into Maryland and Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, because of reliability violations that PJM has determined. Unfortunately, my colleagues north of the border in Harrisburg decided that the line was not needed. That is an example of an interstate line where states have come out on two totally different sides of whether or not the line is needed. And that's a situation where the federal government may need to step in.
So is that the solution? Because earlier my chair, Senator Manchin, spoke of judicial review, kind of a shot clock. You got to finish. You can't go on forever. Are you favoring a solution like that that would have, okay, circumscribed, we're going to complete the decision-making process by this time? Would you be in favor of that?
I think a shot clock is important. Legal due process for the state who is out of favor is important to have their review reviewed by the court. But that should not go on in ad infinitum for potentially years at a time. So I think a statute of limitations is necessary.
Sounds good. Mr. Smith, just for the record, I know AEP is attempting to lower their carbon footprint. How much, however you want to, whatever unit you wish to express, has AEP lowered their carbon footprint by converting coal-fired plants to natural gas?
Yes, we do have carbon reduction goals, as you mentioned, and what is first and foremost importance to us is balancing system reliability.
Got to hurry because I got limited time.
Sure.
Yes. So how much have y'all lowered your CO2 emission profile relative because of conversion from one type of fuel to the other?
I don't have a specific number with me today, but I'm happy to circle back with you on that.
Now, on your testimony, you speak about having sensitivities. The more sensitivities you have, the more robust your analysis. But on the other hand, I could also see where you ended up sticking ratepayers, my constituents, with a lot of cost for theoretical things which may occur. It may be that Louisiana needs electricity, although almost always we don't. But in that nth degree possibility that we do, we're going to charge you for a potential of an interregional transmission line, which principally is being built to benefit other people. Does that make sense?
Yes, your question makes sense. We're again proponents of ensuring that reasonable benefits are included, more known and measurable benefits are included in those benefit calculations.
Now, you're also, as I understand, converting to a lot of renewables. In your testimony, you speak of renewable energy. In Mr. Stanek's testimony, one of his references speaks to the fact that it can cost more to have renewable energy. And and you imply that it contributes, and we've seen other examples where it's contributed to so-called energy poverty. People are paying so much for the utility bill, they don't have money for other essentials because of the increased cost of the renewables. How are y'all balancing that in your portfolio? Is this all being driven by mandates? Is it, I'm representing people who, again, they don't have enough money to pay any bill. Inflation has been killing them. And inflation in the utility bill, as your testimony, Mr. Stanek, speaks to, is concerning. So how do we balance this, all these different factors so that the customer still can afford her bills?
Yes, we go through an integrated resource planning process to determine what generation is most economic for our customers. And so it is a least reasonable cost generation portfolio that emerges from that process, including in Louisiana, which we're going through that process now.
But I assume that at some point you accept the higher cost because of legal mandates.
No, I believe that we move forward with a least reasonable cost portfolio, notwithstanding, any mandates. Of course, if there is a state that has a renewable portfolio standard that we have to meet, of course, we comply with the law.
Sounds good. And then just in my remaining time, Mr. Tepley, you speak of the cost of initiating a project which is never completed because of litigation and other things which would either thwart or prolong, even if it's eventually done, and how that cost is passed on to the ratepayer. I presume that is a real cost,
Thank you for the question. Yes, that is a real cost.
and one in the margin, in the aggregate, ends up making my patient, I'm sorry, I'm a doc, so it comes to mind. Methane means something different to a gastroenterologist, but nonetheless. The point being is that marginal cost actually is more likely to contribute to the individual's propensity to go into energy poverty than if that cost actually was not there. I mean, it just kind of begs itself.
Yeah, in general terms, yes.
Yeah, I yield. Thank you.
Senator